A New South Wales police officer has been found guilty of manslaughter after he used his taser on a 95-year-old great-grandmother at her Snowy Mountains aged care home. Relatives of Clare Nowland embraced in the courtroom as the result was read out after about 4 days of deliberation from the jury. Court reporter Jamie McKinnell joined us now from outside the New South Wales Supreme Court. Good afternoon, Jamie. So take us through how this unfolded.
Good afternoon, Ros. Well, Senior Constable Kristian White faced a jury trial in the New South Wales Supreme Court, which lasted for about 8 days, and he was facing a single charge of manslaughter after he was called to Yallambee Lodge in Cooma in May last year. Now, that was where 95-year-old Clare Nowland had been wandering her aged care home with a knife, and she had gone into other residents' rooms. The court heard that there was a conversation or an interaction with 2 police officers and 2 paramedics over a couple of minutes when they eventually found Clare Nowland. And Senior Constable Kristian White eventually said, "Nah, bugger it," and used his taser on Clare Nowland after she had been ignoring directions to either stop moving or put the knife down. One of the key things here was the jury being asked to decide whether his actions were reasonable in those circumstances. He insisted that he was simply performing his duty as an officer and that he was attempting to manage the danger that was presenting itself at the time. But today, after about 4 days of deliberations, the jury has disagreed and they've come back with a guilty verdict for that single charge of manslaughter. When that result was read out, Kristian White was standing in the courtroom and he had his hands clasped in front of him. As soon as he heard the words guilty, he put his head and his eyes down towards the floor. And we heard relatives of Clare Nowland. Several relatives were becoming emotional in the courtroom and they were hugging and holding their hands over their mouths. So what this means now is that Kristian White will eventually face sentence proceedings. Clare Nowland's relatives have issued a statement saying it'll take some time for them to come to terms with this verdict and what it means for them. And Kristian White has left the court building now. He was asked a lot of questions by journalists who were following him down the street, but he made no comment about the result today.
And is he now facing the possibility of being taken into custody, Jamie?
Yeah, he certainly is, Ros. There was a foreshadowed application by the Crown Prosecutor today for a detention application, and Kristian White's lawyers have said they'll attempt to oppose that and argue that he should remain on bail before he learns his sentence. His defence lawyers will argue that it's not inevitable that he will receive a custodial sentence for the case of manslaughter and the circumstances around here. And the judge, Justice Ian Harrison, was eager to have more evidence before him about the conditions that Senior Constable White might be facing if he is taken into custody. So that application will be made tomorrow. What that means for Senior Constable White is that he's been able to leave the court with his partner. He has until tomorrow where he'll have to return to the court building and then hear the answer to that question of whether he will begin a sentence, possibly tomorrow, be taken into custody. But the court has also been told that manslaughter is a charge that can produce a wide variety of sentences. So there is certainly an argument to be had in that respect.